Yeah, can you explain your role at the company and what inspired you to start it?
Sure. So I'm Patrick and I'm the CEO of GoSun. We've been building solar powered appliances for a decade. I've been working with solar for about 25 years on an odyssey to try to get it to power our lives. And I was on the solar coaster, doing installation work, design work, and that kind of led into more of a financial argument than I was enjoying. At the time in my career, I found myself wearing a suit and going to boardrooms, and it just kind of lost a lot of its heart and soul.
Hmm.
So I had this invention of a solar oven. I launched it on Kickstarter, and it went very well. And then I was lucky enough to build a team, and now we focus on various solutions to help people live with, better products when they're recreating outdoors and off grid, and as well as kind of helping to build resilience, security, trying to help maintain autonomy and independence. So we sort of hit these dual markets and we evaluate a wide variety of products. And I've got another sort of part of my history, and one of my team members, a key team member, was a big electric vehicle guy. So we've been looking at the EV market and trying to come up with various solutions. And I'm sure we'll talk a lot about our latest invention.
Yeah, you've done a lot of great work. I remember seeing that solar cooker on a Kickstarter like way back. And
Oh
even
yeah.
I was like, that's cool. Very unique. I'm glad that went well. What inspired you to kind of go after this solar charger with a lot of EVs, don't have that option, but it's certainly people want it, obviously.
Yeah, I appreciate the work that you've done in that pursuit. I saw some of your videos on your channel. You're really pioneering it. I mean, so a lot of EV drivers want to do things cleaner and greener. I've been, trying to make solar driving a possibility. A company I started down in Asheville, North Carolina, about 15 or 17 years ago, was focused on solar integrated electric vehicle charging infrastructure, and it was a time before there was a whole lot of electric cars on the roads. And so now, there's kind of more electric cars than there are public charging infrastructure.
Yeah.
And so it's a perfect time for this solution. And, I used to think that it wasn't likely that a car could solar power itself, like there wasn't enough surface area. And to some extent, that's true. Uh, but what we've developed, really takes advantage of the vehicle's entire footprint and pencils out. We had to rerun the calculations. Like, wow, we're getting 1,200 watts onto a vehicle, and depending on where you live and how often you use it, this could easily meet over 50% of your needs. It could meet all of your needs if you're,
Yeah.
in Southern California and you're only driving, 15 miles a day. So it sort of became an aha. Like the flexible solar technology was the other huge innovation throughout the industry that enables this to happen. And those have become more and more ubiquitous and less expensive every year. And so, it just finally got to that point where the technology and the idea merged. And, we've got several prototypes that we've been developing over the past year. And we finally have one that we're really strong with that we've kind of gone to market for pre-sale.
That's amazing. Yeah, I have an old Nissan Leaf, and that would definitely be because, yeah, there's like EV dead spots as far as charging in a lot of areas. That's kind of sad. So having this kind of mobile thing with you is really an awesome option. So how many people are at the company now? You, the company founded what year?
We were founded in 17, and there are about 10 of us now. We've had a lot of growth from the COVID, sort of recreation and resilience were two big markets that blew up during COVID. And we have proliferated with a lot of different ideas and partnerships. So we have, just in the last few years, we launched a camper, which is kind of an off-grid camper, perfect for electric vehicles because it's super lightweight and
Oh,
streamlined. aerodynamic. And then we also launched a inflatable solar electric boat recently that,
That's great.
uh, yeah, just kind of imagining what's possible. In many cases, we do a lot of the design work, or we'll do, first early development and prototyping, but then we'll partner with somebody else who's manufacturing.
Okay.
And so we'll take their product, make it better, and, kind of, that way we're moving into the market quicker with a solution that we didn't have to do everything on, all of the engineering, all of the development and tooling, and all those deeper costs.
And where is your company located now?
We're in Cincinnati, Ohio, which is the center of all things solar. I'm teasing. No, it's uh, I'm born and raised in Cincinnati, and came back here about 12 years ago to started GoSun. It's been a great place to build a young company because just a very hardworking base, and a lot of innovation, and kind of a lot of hands-on capabilities.
That's awesome. So this fits on the roof rack. Is there any roof rack? It just kind of adapts to the size of the width of the car's roof rack?
Yeah, we've done a lot of work there, and different prototypes weren't as versatile as the most recent version. Uh, but the idea is that any crossbar will accommodate the GoSun EV Solar Charger, meaning pretty much even vehicles with standard like luggage racks,
Hmm.
like a lot of Subarus or SUVs would have those crossbars. And then, of course, anything from, Thule or Yakima, uh, that mount durably to the vehicle will work. And then our system bolts on to that, and all of the hardware is inside our rooftop carrier. And that carrier also locks down. So it's theft protected to a large extent, because you have to unlock it in order to get to where those bolts are.
The mounting points. Okay, that's smart. And that's lockable. Okay. That was my other question later, but you answered that. I don't know. So this is gonna be like a level one charger to an EV, right? What's
Yeah, so slow and low. Go ahead. Did you have another question, Raj?
what's the minimum amount of watts you need to, is it like 800 watts or so to actually get the car to accept it? Something like that?
Yep, it's right about there. I'd actually be curious what you found on your Nissan Leaf. I haven't tested the Leaf yet, but most of the Teslas that we've been testing are at 6 amps is the lowest, and that's level one, so it's 110 volt, a little over 700 watts.
Oh, as low
And
as 7. That's great.
yeah,
So if
and
that's what the LFP kind of backs in, if it doesn't reach that limit directly from solar, it kind of adds that extra buffer of watts to get it to
that's
accept.
right. Yeah, there you go. And so we're installing our system with a small lithium ion or lithium iron phosphate battery, kind of as a buffer to help absorb intermittency.
So it just kind of goes in and out as it's needed. It's not a continuous draw.
Exactly. As the clouds show up, as the angles are off, our system will take whatever it can and get that into the car. Um, but we can't just go direct to the vehicle, like DC to DC. And we can't just have an inverter, like a micro inverter. We actually need a small battery to kind of absorb those changes, whether it's too much or too little.
Gotcha. Okay. So the solar panels, how far do they extend in the front and the back of the where it's mounted on the top?
Yeah, the box is roughly 4 foot by 4 foot and about 5 inches in height. And then the panels that come out are about 8 feet in either direction,
Oh wow.
uh, roughly, and so all told, it can be almost 20 feet long. And a lot of vehicles, like the Model 3, I think is like 15 and a half feet long. So they kind of lean, they kind of take up the parking space and lean off cantilever off the vehicle a little bit. And you can dispatch as many panels as you want or don't want. So, you can just have 3 out the back and 5 out the front if you have a hatchback that's much shorter.
Okay, and the rest will just stay folded underneath it.
Right.
Okay. One question someone had, is there an option maybe to have like grommets in case you want to like maybe tie it down to the car in case it's like super windy, like gusts, things like that. So
Yeah, absolutely. We'll be working on that. And doing that in a careful manner, of course. And of course, if the weather is really rough, the panels aren't they're not hard mounted to much. They're kind of lying on the body of the vehicle and the windshields and such. So combination of things. But if the winds are really going to be high, or if you're in you know horrible weather, it's going to be advisable to bring it in, get it
yeah.
back inside the carrying case. Like big hail, giant gusts, those kinds of things.
So you can still use, is it possible to charge it with it everything folded up with the battery kind of taking the buffer?
Yeah, you'll have, there's a 200-watt panel on the top of the case, and so that will always be charging. Um, and so kind of even when you're not dispatching everything else. Once the small battery is completely charged, then you have excess. But
Excellent.
generally, and of course you can't charge when you're driving
Yeah.
either. You haven't figured that one out.
Yeah. How much does the whole thing weigh all together with the battery and the panels?
Our estimate is around 70 pounds. So it's not super prohibitive to take on and off. You probably want 2 people.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably possible for one person, one pretty stout person.
Yeah.
But a little bit like, mounting a kayak or something.
Well, that's not bad at all because probably most of that weight's like the metal in the battery, right?
Right. I mean, certainly, it's a lot of surface area, and these panels are substantial. They have to endure a lot. And so a lot of the weight is in the panels as well,
Sure.
and their way they're according, the way they're stacking against each other.
What type of solar panels are you using for these flexible ones?
This is monocrystalline, but it's this flexible tech. So they're very durable and surprisingly capable of absorbing, vibration, impact. Um, and there's a super strong ETFE coating on the exterior. You've probably seen these kinds of panels in the world of like little cell phone chargers, like little folding
Oh,
panels.
hmm.
A lot of times maybe on a backpack or something. I mean, there's quite a few versions of flexible solar. Um, but basically, these are essentially using the same type of cell that you find in a typical solar PV panel, a monocrystalline PV panel. So they're hitting, 22% efficiency,
No.
and just the way they're cut and installed enables them to flex a fair amount. I mean, it's not like a piece of fabric.
Hmm.
Uh, it's not infinitely flexible.
Have you tested it with any kind of hail damage? Can it withstand that kind of abuse?
It's I would say it depends on absolutely, but then it depends on the threshold, and kind of, again, like if you're doing like the classic like steel ball test, like what happened with the Cybertruck, during the demo there.
Yeah.
No, I don't know if any solar panel could handle that kind of an impact, and we wouldn't expect ours either. So, all extremes are, this is not built for every possible horrible use case. The top piece, the 200-watt panel on the very, very top, is far more durable
Mm.
than the ones that are out laid against the body of the vehicle. And so that's going to be able to endure everything and anything.
Okay.
But the wings have to come in if you're expecting a big storm. And the other technology that enabled this solution to be a mass consumable product is the world of information coming through our pockets. Like I would have a setting in here that says, please inform me if you're expecting 30-mile-an-hour gusts or hail,
Hmm.
and then I might have to leave work and walk out to the parking lot and put this thing away if I know that there's something brewing. There's some giant spring shower, some big thunderstorm is going to tear things up.
Right. Is it built modular in a way where if, say, the front wing got damaged, you could just replace that chunk of it?
Hmm. That's right.
Oh, that's great. And how many prototypes have you kind of been through at this point?
Oh, it depends on to what extent we call prototypes, but um, both working and non-working, I would say about six. Uh, so, and that's one of the strengths of GoSun. We're very kind of hands-on. It's that we have this old like, don't show up to a meeting without a prototype adage. Coming from IDEO in the Bay Area. We take an idea and we hurry up and get into testing it. Whether that's like just a mock-up made out of cardboard, or in this case, a pretty solid beta prototype. Um, we've had a lot of designs for this product idea. And many of those first assumption designs were flawed for a variety of reasons I won't get into. But
Hmm.
um, the long and the short is like, um, you know, we didn't start with the idea that folding panels would be draped all over the vehicle, but we arrived there based on a bunch of failed experiments trying to do more complicated things.
Hmm. Okay. Would you be able to, say, adjust some of the angles of the ones that's kind of laying on the car, or maybe even the top roof to kind of
Yeah,
get
and
better exposure?
I love that question. There's so much to explore with this, and with the advent of flexible solar becoming so ubiquitous. And I think it's interesting, even that question is interesting when it's not on a car as well. Like if you're just using this for camping or some other application, like on a job site, in a camper van or whatever. And, since it's relatively lightweight and movable, I think it's entirely possible to have the whole thing at it, like in the winter when the sun angle is much lower. I could imagine, kind of propping it up against a wall or up against the vehicle.
Hmm.
Um, and and then, like we have our GoSun has this inflatable solar electric boat, and I'm working on a way to build like awnings out of the flexible solar panels so
Oh,
that
cool.
you put this on the roof of the boat, and then you'd have like two big awnings, and maybe with different length poles that you could extend,
Hmm.
and again to try to catch the right light, or to build little kind of shaded areas underneath.
That's a great idea. What's the lifespan of the solar panels you've been using for the flexible?
Um, they're similar to the standard photovoltaics that are encapsulated in glass, the EVA backsheet. It's the 25-year, hopeful, based on the fact that they're not as durable. They're not under tempered glass that's going to withstand the lots. Um, I think 25 years would be very optimal. That might be a little optimistic. So, but inevitably, they're designed to last that long. In our situation, the abuses are going to be the question. If you're using this thing every day for 25 years, you've done a great job. You've been very careful with your investment.
Yeah, how you take care of it. Have you done any calculations on how this would affect range on EVs in particular?
Oh yeah. Yeah, and with like for example the Tesla Model 3, which kind of has the best efficiency, upwards of 4 miles per kilowatt hour. Kind of our best case situation, or our kind of maximum on a day like today. We nothing but sunshine. It's one of the longest days of the year. You could easily put out um, as many as 8 kWh from our system. Multiplying that by 4 miles per kilowatt, and now you've got over 30. That is ideal case scenario. We realize that. I think my argument is making 17 miles a day. The average electric vehicle drives less than 20 miles a day, and we could get close to that, and we could certainly hit that in the summer just about anywhere in North America, and
Yeah.
then we'll struggle to get there in the winter most likely.
Yeah.
And we also have to assume too that the vehicle isn't, again, the way you calculate, that a car is going to get 4 miles to the kilowatt hour is also an optimal calculation. The vehicle is not running in Sentry mode. The air conditioner hasn't been running while you had it parked, or the heater, you name it. There's a lot of naysayers. That'll never happen. It's like, well, watch me. It will happen. Like I'll get it to 30, but again, that'll take some optimization.
Right. And what about like the aerodynamic drag specifically, like when you're driving? If you know how much that would.
And we haven't done wind tunnel testing yet, but based on simulation work that we've done, essentially looking at around 10% increase in drag.
Okay.
And so a lot of folks also are kind of pushing back against that, and that's true if you're doing a lot of long distance driving, or if you're going on a giant road trip and you're going to blow through several tanks of electric, doing 400 miles in the course of a day. In that case, the 10% drag increase is going to reduce, it's going to be a net negative of having this on your roof. But maybe then when you got there to your destination, you were there for 5 days and you just charged up 50% of your battery because the car was sitting in the sun on the beach.
Yeah.
So there's always this check and balance. This system is mainly designed for the average electric vehicle owning situation where you're city driving, less than 30 miles a day. And ideally, you're kind of parked in the sun 9 to 5, whether that's, work or at your condo or apartment or something.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely how I'd love to use this because I live in an apartment, so I can't charge at home. And so I have two chargers nearby that sometimes are available, sometimes not. So having this always
Right.
there would be huge for me.
Rather than having to fight over the public charger that is never available, you just park in the far corner of the lot where it's very sunny. Nobody else ever parks there. You
Yeah,
walk an extra 100 feet to get into your apartment, but you kind of like the extra walk, and you're
exactly.
charging in sunshine. You kind of leave it set up day and night. It does theft protect. I know a lot of people have been worried about theft. Um, I would love to believe that solar is that popular that that thieves are going to want to steal this, but I don't think solar's quite popular enough for people to realize the value of what we're creating. I think a mountain bike or something would be much more likely to get ripped.
Yeah, maybe they probably didn't even know what it is if they saw it for the first time because
Or
it's
how to use it, or where to go and resell it, or whatever they're going to do.
right. So you're having these manufactured kind of by someone else and you bring them in-house to ship, or do they ship them also?
Yeah, we do most of our fulfillment out of Cincinnati here. We have a big distribution center.
Oh,
Mhm.
okay. And you ship these worldwide as well?
That's the goal. We're focused on North America at the moment, and luckily we all have a universal connector with NACS,
Hmm.
Um, but we are going to be meeting the J1722 electrical protocol, and I think that's pretty much, available to every electric car. So there's no reason why we won't go to other markets
Yeah, that
with
would
this.
be a lot more easy for people because they're getting used to that in the coming years, and even now. And
And
so, go ahead.
likely do most of our production in China, and the Chinese electric car market has absolutely exploded the last few years. So we're hoping this is popular there as well.
Oh yeah, I could see that. So what's your estimated launch date at this point?
You know, um, it's probably, looking at, I'd like to make it available Q1 next year.
Okay.
Um, that's our, that's our estimated or planned at the moment. We do have a lot of ground to cover to get there, but this isn't rocket science, it's not like we have to build it at Aptera or something that complex.
Hmm.
Our investment in tooling and engineering is certainly just a fraction of theirs.
Right. Do you have an estimated price that you're gonna shoot for?
Yeah, we're shooting for $3,000, all in for, kind of everything you need to take a 1,200 watt solar array in a box and the hardware to rack it. We won't sell the rack itself. You'll have to source that. You'll have to source the electric car. And
Hmm.
then with that 3K, we also would expect it to provide the electronics that will enable you to just plug right into the side of your vehicle through the charge port. Um, and of course, the GoSun warranty. I'm also hoping to ship for free as well. So I hope that, 3K all in, and then um, that should be available for a $1,000 tax credit,
Oh,
uh, 30% federal tax credit, based on sort of at home charging electric vehicle infrastructure,
oh,
is
that's
all.
true. That's great.
So, roughly $2,000 out of pocket. Um, and we also, there's a number of things to sort out, but we're expecting to have multiple configurations.
Okay. And would that come with the handled plug you're in your vehicle, or do you kind of provide that yourself?
Our goal is to provide a NACS connector with our system,
Oh, okay.
and then you can adapt from that to, whatever your
Whatever. You
vehicle is.
Okay.
I think all new vehicles, like I think in 2024, all new vehicles will be on the NACS system. So
Hmm.
forward, everybody's going to have one connector. Isn't that amazing? We all cooperated.
Yeah, that should happen years ago, but at least it's here.
That's right.
And where can people buy or pre-order this now?
Yeah, to find the GoSun EV Solar Charger, our website is gosun.co/EV. And that'll take you through a page where you can learn more about it. And then there's a reservation page. We're asking for $100 reservations to kind of hold your slot.
Okay.
And then we'll be, updating those folks regularly about the production and the timeline and such.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's all the questions I had. It's, very exciting. Oh, well, one last question was like, there a warranty for this?
Yeah, and we'll likely offer, we have a standard 1 year warranty on everything that we make, and then we'll likely offer like extended warranties on it as well, just for, a little incremental. I think you'll be able to go up to like a 5 year warranty.
Oh, great. Cool. Is there anything else you want to share? Just my first impression seeing it was like, as people see this, they're like, well, that makes sense. It would save them a lot of money if even if they're charging at home, that would save them a lot of money.
Yeah, I mean, and that's just one of the various angles that we're approaching this with. Uh, you know, the very few people ever put a range of value on the electricity that they buy. We
Hmm.
put a range of value on just about everything that we buy, like, and food and clothing and cars. But when it comes to utilities, you're just pretty, generally kind of people just take whatever is given to them.
Yeah,
And in my opinion, solar power has a higher value than energy made from coal, or nuclear or natural gas or something. So there's added value there, and then there's added independence and value of being able to self charge basically.
absolutely.
Um, and there's going to be a lot of learning and a lot of observation of the weather and the characteristics of our seasons. So I think that has a unique value. You kind of better understand your place on the planet. That's always unique. And then that independence that turns into kind of self-reliance. I wouldn't expect that people would use this exclusively and this would be their only source of charging. But for some, they could really, you know, expand into more remote regions, more austere environments, or, you know, really feel comfortable having a backup plan. Something that always is interesting to me is how much pushback the electric vehicle industry has gotten in that, like, from people that believe that their you know, fossil fuel vehicle is like much more independent or much more um you know, empowering. And they're, you know, you'll never take my truck from me. And it's like, well, I'm sorry, sir, but I doubt you own an oil refinery, you know, or an oil pipeline or an oil well, or, you know, or do you have some special connection to Saudi Arabia or something? Like, why are you so committed to oil as if that is like freedom? Because it's not. And in fact, you know, there's a lot more entrenchment reality. You're a lot less independent. You're a lot more addicted to a very complex supply chain than if you went solar, or than if you had an electric car. An electric car has a million places to fuel itself. So I really think that narrative needs to be questioned and challenged, and I think it is happening. And I think more and more people are going to realize the benefits of this. And then I'm very excited to start working on like vehicle to grid, or, you know,
Mm.
turning the vehicle into its own large source of power to run your home in the event that the grid is down, those types of things.
Yeah, lots of exciting things to come. And like you say, electric vehicle charging can come from a variety of sources. Could be solar, could be solar or wind, even
Right.
geothermal to a degree. There's lots of options.
Just going to get cleaner and cleaner and cleaner every decade.
Yeah,
Whereas, you know, yeah, we've gotten more and more efficient at using gasoline and diesel, but it's still coming from the same ancient sunlight. You know, it's an ancient source that is limited and causes a lot of issues.
yeah,
The environmental issues are just one of the many issues that oil have plagued us with on this planet.
yeah,
So yeah, it's exciting. And I know it's about, you know, access to the ubiquitous power from the sun, and it's free and available. And you know, it's very empowering the more you can tune your life to be according with the sun's patterns and whatnot.
yeah. I'm excited for you. You know, keep in touch as this gets closer. I'd like to follow up, and thank you for
Great.
your time today.
Yeah, likewise, Raj. Thanks for your interest.
Yeah, thank you.